What's up, everybody? Style Domin here, and we're starting on a new what if video. What if Deku had a perfect copy quirk, part 0. So before I start the video, I'm just gonna say, this is my first time making a My Hero what if, and the third time making a new what if video, but I don't know if I'll ever go back to what if Naruto was born with the Rinnegan. It was my first what if video, so I don't know if I would go back to it. Maybe I'll remake it, but I'm just gonna stop myself right there before I go on a rant, and let's get into this. We begin where Bakugo and his friends were just getting finished pummeling Deku into the ground with their quirks. The thing I'm gonna change is how severe Bakugo's blasts are. In this what if, I'm gonna make it to where he's like 2 times as strong as in canon. Bakugo and his friends completely brutalize Deku. Deku isn't able to move, but he is still conscious just a little bit. And as he lays there, he thinks to himself, why? Why does Kopchan keep hurting people that aren't even bad? I thought he wanted to become a hero. He just picks on the weak, and that makes me the weakest. I need power. I want power. And unaware to him, he had his quirk awaken. It was dormant until then, when Bakugo and his friends beat him almost to death. As Deku laid there for a few minutes, breathing horribly and on the verge of blacking out, he started to hear multiple people around him. It was civilians from nearby had called for an ambulance. It was actually a few kids that saw what happened. They ran to go tell their parents so they could call for aid, and he was then taken to a hospital. Deku's mother wasn't called for a long time because of no one knowing who Deku even was. Not only that, he hadn't woken up yet, even after 4 days, and by then his mother would already had found out where he was, and she'd be very worried on his condition. His left arm was broken. The right hand's fingers were smashed. The skull was cracked. Both of his legs were broken. 2 cracked ribs. And the worst of the damage was multiple blast wounds from Bakugo's quirk. The doctors that were there were completely shocked on the state this kid is in. They even think to themselves, this kid will never wake up again. Izuku Midoriya had slipped into a coma. Bakugo and his friends didn't get off scot-free though. They had to start going to a quirk management training, and it would be on their records forever, so it would be harder for them to do things. But because of them still being kids, they don't get the same treatment as adults would. Which means Bakugo is still able to become a hero later on, even though he put someone into a coma. That's not funny, don't laugh. But the reason why he got such a light sentence was because the person that was looking over the case was rooting on his side more. It was one of those types of people that thought the quirkless is useless. So Deku is going to be in a coma for 8 years. But before I keep going, I'm going to talk about the quirk he had awakened. His quirk's name is called Perfect Copy. He is able to copy anyone else's quirk when he sees them use it. He is able to use any of their quirks whenever he wants, and his quirk is always activated, so he can't really turn it off. There is no limit on how many quirks he can copy, but the one flaw his quirk does have is if he copies too many at one time, he has a chance that one of his organs would explode. Big downfall. But he doesn't really know this yet. Deku's quirk also changed his eye color it changed it to a bright blue. He was also able to already copy Bakugo's and his friend's quirks, but since he is in the coma, he doesn't really know. To him, he still thinks he's quirkless. So, while Deku is actually in his coma, he's actually able to hear everyone around him. So it's almost like torture. You could even hear his mother completely break down right next to him, not knowing if her son would ever wake up again. And at that moment, Deku swore to himself, if he ever gets out of this, things would be different. I'll show him. I'll show them all, he shouts inside of his head. So Deku would finally wake up after 8 years. He was 4 before he was in the coma, and now this dude is 12. So if it was in canon, it would be 2 years before he would go into U. Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering too much. He would go into UA. Oh, wait, before I forget, I also wanted to put a device that's from one of the movies. The one where there's a machine that shows how much power All Might has left. I think it has more features, but the thing I wanted to add in is like a prototype of it. So it doesn't have a reading. It just lights up when your quirk finally activates. And because of Deku's quirk being dormant, it didn't light up. So that's why they deemed him quirkless. So instead of a shady doctor here telling Deku that he's quirkless, it was instead a robot telling he was quirkless. So during the 8 years that Deku was in a coma, the only person that came to visit him was his mother. Because of him being quirkless, no one really cared that he was in a coma. They actually thought it would be better that way. Even all of the head doctors and all the staff there didn't have high hopes for him, except for one part-time nurse. She actually thought she saw one of his fingers move at one time. She was a part-time nurse because she wanted enough money so she could go to a concert. And she sometimes even sees that Izuku's mom visits very frequently. She also sometimes has to put blankets on her when she falls asleep there. One day she goes in as usual and actually sees that Izuku is upright awake, which freaks her out for a second because he sort of looks like a zombie from how sunken in his face is and how blue-eyed he is. He just looked at her and she's like, closed the door and ran. After she left, Izuku's head started to suddenly hurt, and headphone jacks started to form out of his ears. As the girl ran to inform one of the doctors, she told him that the kid that was in the coma had woken up. He was shocked and in disbelief until he went into the room, noticing that Izuku was sitting upright and trying to get out of the bed, but couldn't because of how weak he is. As Deku went to go look up at the doctor, his eyes quickly flashed a blue light and then went back to the normal blue that they are now, and his body started to hurt. All of a sudden you hear a crack in one of Izuku's arms. The doctor goes over there and quickly fixes his arm. He has a weaker healing quirk, so even if he heals it, it's still going to be like sprained. And after they go and do that, he actually finds out that Izuku has a quirk when they know that he shouldn't have a quirk. He went and quickly grabbed one of the devices that tell you if you have a quirk, and it registered, freaking him out. And most of all, shocking Izuku. Izuku then asks the doctor if he would be able to leave soon, which he gets a flat out no. You need to go into recovery, boy. And I think this is where I'm going to end the part 0. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Have a good day.